After psychology of play, my next class was Introduction to the Video Game Industry. And I learned a lot about the history of video games. We're talking, Space Invaders, Pong, like the very earliest technology, the very first video games, and Pac-Man. And unfortunately, there wasn't very much mention of Tetris, which I thought was a shame. And I definitely had to mention Tetris when it came to video game history because it's just such a big part of what started puzzle games. But I remember there was this one discussion post where we discussed the concept of loot boxes and how the players felt about it, the pros and cons of it. And I thought it was interesting because we all got to research a controversial element of video games and then discuss with each other the pros and cons of it. And we had to research sides for and against the concept. And for those of you who don't know about loot boxes are like the idea where you can buy randomly generated items in a video game, usually an MMORPG or some similar games, or maybe even a different genre of game, but it's randomly generated. So people with more money to spend, they have a greater chance to randomly get good stuff that people with less money don't have access to. So because of that, some have criticized it as a pay-to-win element that rewards the rich and punishes the poor. And so even though I'm personally against it, I also was able to think about it from the side of how it makes money for the video game developers to do that. So it was video game history and information about how the video game industry functions, but there was a little bit of ethics tied into that. And ethics is definitely one of my biggest favorite things to talk about, and how we need to make ethical decisions even when creating or playing video games became clear to me while doing that class. And I feel like that's my biggest takeaway.